Hi everyone, my name's Aishi and welcome back to What It Takes to Be. Today we have Mr. Sujith Thadoor with us. He's working as a senior software engineer. He has around 7 years of experience in developing applications and using the latest technologies like Kibana, Elasticsearch, AWS, and Java. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Sujith sir. Could you please tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views and experience to what it takes to be a software engineer. So I did my undergrad and master's in computer science. So during that learning process, that's what kind of intrigued me to become a developer. So I used multiple languages during my master's degree. Like I worked on Java, Python, PHP, but Java was something that I was more interested in. That kind of drive me to become a Java developer. So my initial career started as a Java developer. Then I worked my way up through senior software engineer for about and have like 7 years experience. And right now I started as a senior software engineer a year ago. Um, in terms of skill set, it's like a widespread. There's so many programming languages, tools, and frameworks out there that each company asks you a different thing. So, but mostly like if you're familiar or if you're comfortable with one language, then you can take that as a base and start working on it, and then you can learn different, frameworks or everything that's associated with it. That's what I did. So after being a Java developer, then I learned JavaScript and Angular, which are mostly used on front end. Uh, so when we say development, there is like front end and back end development. Front end is something, it's called a user interface. That's what pretty much what you see. And whenever you click on some of the buttons and what happens behind the scenes, that's called backend development.
Okay.
So nowadays, when people ask for a software engineer role, they expect you to have knowledge of both backend and front end as well.
Mhm.
That's what differentiates between just being a Java developer and a software engineer. So Java developer, people expect you to know only Java
Okay.
and some frameworks around it. But when this is software engineer, people expect, front end, back end, they expect cloud technologies, like as I mentioned, like Kibana, Elastic. So there are so many tools and different data processing tools out there. So people expect those when you want to become a software engineer.
Okay. So you had a lot of things that you do. You just mentioned a lot of things that you do as a software engineer. So does
Mhm.
that make a day busy for you, or what does a typical day look like?
It can be hectic. It depends. I mean, initial stages when I joined as a Java developer, it was a bit challenging because even though you know the programming, even though you know Java and coding in Java, but each company follows a set of process on how things needs to work. There's something called SDLC. It's a software development lifecycle. Most of the companies use that standard, where you get the requirements from the business, and as a developer you need to look into the requirements and start coding in Java or Python or whichever programming language that application is being designed on. And then it goes through QA process, then it goes to deployment into production. So there are multiple steps that goes into the process, and this is something you don't learn in masters or your undergrad. Basically you learn how to use the technology, but process, when it comes to process, it's each company follows a different process. So that's where it becomes a bit challenging initially, but once you get a hold of it, I think like you're good to go. So initially, as I said, like it can be a bit challenging, but once you get a hold of it, you can balance your work life with personal life. So yeah.
So you mentioned you did grad school and undergrad. So do you think like grad school was required?
uh, I mean, for me it was because I did my master's here in Canada. I did my master's in Canada, so for that they expected a undergrad degree in computer science. But I know like most people just do their undergrad in computer science and they just go and work as a developer or an engineer right away. So it's not necessary that you need to do masters, but some people are kind of interested in one area, so they kind of do master's degree specifically focusing on either data engineering or things like that. So some people do that, but it's not necessary.
Mhm. What kind of skills are required to become a software engineer?
As I said, like you need to be familiar with one of the programming languages at least. Either it can be Java, Python, whichever, and front end like JavaScript and its libraries
Mhm.
like Angular, React JS. Each company uses a different tool and different language. But like if you're interested in Java, just go within Java and learn different tools and frameworks that are being released, which go well together with Java, and that should be good. If you want to do Python, most people in data engineering and stuff, they're using Python with machine learning and that. So if you're interested in that, just learn Python and can do a data engineering job as well. So it kind of aligns with what company requires and what you are interested in, which programming language which you're comfortable with. So
Do you think like learning about like different programs is important?
what do you mean by programs?
Like you said you learned Java and you like
Right.
Java. Do you think like other programs like C++ is important?
I mean, C and C++, to be honest, I've used it like a while ago. Most people are not using C and C++ anymore. It's mostly, as I said, Java or Python or JavaScript, React.js. So C and C++, very few companies use these days. So it's better for us to keep up to date on what people are asking these days. That way you can, learn on what the company is expecting. And hey, you know what, Java people are expect, and there are different versions of Java too. So some companies expect the Java 11 version. You have to, work on Java 11 version, so you know what happens in Java 11. So it's kind of depends on company, which company they want, what application, I mean, what technologies they need. So it depends totally on that.
Okay.
But I would say, start with one programming language that interests you, and you can work your way up through learning different stuff on the way. So
Mhm. Okay. And do you face any challenges on your throughout the day, like every day?
yes, I mean, we do face a lot of challenges because, you have to coordinate with multiple people in order to, develop your application. As I said, like there is a business requirements, and then you write the logic, you test it, then there is QA testing. So you need to coordinate with all these people. If something is missing in terms of requirements and anything, you have to go all the way back to the business and ask them, why is it this way, why are you asking a different thing? And requirements kind of change too in the middle of the project, so that kind of becomes challenging. You
Mhm.
have to go back and change the whole code to something else that they want, so that can be a bit challenging.
And how are the job prospects for entry-level professionals?
There are a lot of jobs in terms of development that like you can join as an intern too, and then you can join as junior developer and then work your way up through senior engineer or software engineer. So yeah, and yeah, there are pretty much so many openings out there for entry level positions. All you
Mhm.
need, once you have your undergrad degree in computer science and you're interested in doing programming or problem solving, then I think that would be your best way to proceed.
And what do you think about long-term job growth? Do you think like software engineering is increasing?
Yes, it is. But the only challenge is you need to keep update yourself on different technologies. That way you can grow yourself as a software engineer. And because as I said, like different companies expect different tools. Like
Mhm.
nowadays people want AWS or Google Cloud platforms. People are deploying their applications on the cloud. So, you need to go and learn what is AWS or do certifications. That way companies hire you based on what you know. So there is like the market is really good. It's just that you need to keep constantly updating yourself on different technologies that are out there.
Mhm.
It's not just one thing you're focused on. It's like a broad spectrum. So, you have to go out there and learn what it is.
Okay. So what kind of starting salaries are there?
For a junior developer, it depends. I would say anywhere between 60K per annum, 60 to 70K per annum. And senior, it varies between, 150 to 200K. It depends on how many years of experience you have and what their expectation. Companies like Facebook and Apple, they pay you quite good. Like people get paid 180 to 100K for a senior software engineer too. So yeah, it's just that, expand your skill set, do your own learning every day pretty much, and do certifications. That way, you get more offers, and yeah, that would be good.
And how's the work-life balance? Like, do you have time to like do your hobbies after?
Yes, I can. I mean, but some days it can be hectic whenever you have these releases, and also when you develop your application that goes live into production. That's where people can use it. During that phase, it can be a bit hectic. You have to work longer hours. probably on the weekends too. But other than that, I mean, I would say it's pretty okay. It totally depends on the company and what their expectations are from you. Some people expect a lot, so you have to put in more extra hours in order to reach that level of, yeah.
And lastly, what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a software engineer eventually?
I would say, I mean, go and look out there. I mean, what's needed, what companies are asking for, and if problem solving is something that interests you, then start to learn coding and pick one language which you think you're comfortable with. Start learning it. Just there's so many websites out there where you can just go and write a piece of code and see how it works. So that's kind of like a starting point for everyone, and then you can work your way from there. So yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today, and I sincerely appreciate your time, Sujith, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.